Hello, Bill Molyneux here, and it's Bill's History and Wargaming World. We're talking about the French Indian War board game Volume 1, which used to be Bloody Mohawk, and it used to be a Ziploc game. But what we're going to do is the new version, printed by Superior Print on Demand, has massive, large 1-inch counters and big hexes. This game is awesome in that sense. If you're an older person such as myself, you will love these giant size counters. Now, one of the pages, they took a little bit of turning to get them out. The other two pages of counters, or sheets of counters, popped right out with no problem. So be careful when you are popping out the counters out of the counter sheets. And if you're new to wargaming, what that means is the counters come in these sheets and they get popped out. And depending on the die cutter, Jeff's die cutter machine, it's like a giant cookie cutter. So without further ado, we're going to play the Battle of Jumonville Glen. And rather than me read everything and have you get bored and leave the YouTube channel, in the Bloody Mohawk Volume 1, these scenarios go in order. So we have Jumonville Glen, Fort Necessity, and so forth. So let's put our camera down. And so we have our leader, Ensign Jumonville, and our French Marines. And there is no combat chart in this game. You use a D10, but we do have a little terrain chart that tells you modifications for different things regarding your troops. So what do you say we play this little mini game? And this game is intentionally difficult to win for the French. They were slaughtered. Ensign Jumonville was assassinated by a young George Washington. So on our first turn, we're going to go ahead and move our units. Now you notice this Native American unit has a value of 3. It can move 3 hexes. And with it being in a green color, it does not take a penalty for going through these trees. So it immediately will move up to there. Now George Washington, represented by this leader, his unit is provincials. And in provincials, it takes 2 movement points to go into the forest, and Washington moves up there. And this provincial moves to there. So in the sequence of play, the British have now moved. And the next is the French would fire defensively. However, in this scenario, sadly enough, the French are caught off guard. So they are not allowed to fire defensively. Now there is an option where they're awake and ready to go and they fire. But we're going to play Bill's historical version. So I got the die box here, and so our French are now waking up. Anglais, they'd be screaming, and Ensign Jumonville is there. Now this number, 1 through 6, right here, that's its die roll number to hit, 1 through 6. Now they do have some cover. They're in this little rocky glen. If you've ever been to Jumonville Glen, Jumonville down there. So our officer, by the way, is Ensign Jumonville. We're going to go ahead and have this native attack last. We're going to have this provincial with our leader attached. So they hit on a 1 through 6. We have our leader and a modifier for this rocky area. So 1 through 6, 1 through 5, and back to 1 through 6. And we rolled a 7. So Washington's men missed. Over here, they missed also. These provincials are terrible. Now, Native Americans, they have a little difference in how they do their combat, which is because they're so fierce in hand-to-hand combat, they're going to get to attack twice. So, our native is 1 through 6, shooting into the glen. They get to roll 2 tries. They get to pick one. Well, they rolled a 1 already, so that's a hit. So, the Marines are reduced in value. And as you can see, they're now a 1 through 5. And Ensign Jumonville is there. Now, our French Marines took a loss. So, they're going to have to check morale, but beforehand, we have to see if our leader's been killed. And that's a 1 through 5. And Ensign Jumonville is dead. So, historically, we're already following that. Now, this unit needs to roll what's called a morale check, a 1 through 5. And they passed. So, the Marines are fine. However, they did lose their leader. So, just like historically, he died. So, this unit has been reduced in level. Now, if this unit had retreated, the natives could have followed up with another attack. That's a special native ability. So we're going to go on to our next turn. And so the Marines phase is they only can move 1 space because they have to stop once they get next to someone. So that they're going to try to head off the board this way and escape. Unfortunately for them, this provincial gets to fire 1 through 5, and they roll the 9, so they missed. And then we have the natives, and they're firing into the woods, which is unfortunately for them, they need a 1 through 5, and our natives rolled a 2. So the Marines are trying to escape, and the Half King and his warriors killed our French Marine unit right there. Now, this game, this particular scenario played very quickly. And I really want to stress this, that this was the first game, the first battle in the scenario pack to help teach new people. So, and also, it's historically accurate. But what would have happened if our French knew the attack was coming? So, our George Washington moves up, our natives and our provincials, they're going to fire here. If George Washington dies, the French do win. So, let's see what happens. And we're going to say they're awake. So, our French are firing and they roll a 5. So they actually reduce this provincial unit. And as you can see, now they're a 1 through 4. Now, what happens to George Washington? Well, unfortunately for George Washington, we roll the 4. Washington takes a musket ball from a Charleville in the head. This provincial unit needs to check its morale, and it rolled an 8. So now it's retreated. A whole different scenario with the French awoken, and for this scenario, the British win by eliminating the French unit and the leader. However, or if the French can win by exiting off the map, or if Washington is killed. So, in our second mini game, George Washington is dead, and our provincial unit. Now, of course, these 2 units get to fire, and it scored a hit, and the Marines are reduced in strength. And Ensign Jumonville, we rolled a 2, if you're curious. So he is dead. And our provincial unit fires, and they rolled a 3. So in one quick turn, the Battle of Jumonville Glen, even though Washington is dead, the Marines and Ensign Jumonville is dead, this is a great way to show the Battle of Jumonville Glen and Ensign Jumonville, how this battle took place. And it's a quick, simple thing. You could put this, if you're a school teacher, you could put this, make a larger map and use it for educational purposes. So I'm going to end the French Indian War Battle Pack. Comes with a lot of great scenarios. 12 scenarios in this pack, and not all of the games are as small as this is. Jumonville Glen. Here we have Fort Necessity, totally different game. You have provincials all about. You have the fort, so, and then French and native set up around there. But you know what I'm going to do is, I think I'll do a video of each of the scenarios being played separately. So we played this twice, real quick introductory level, and large counters. So the French Indian War board game, Volume 1. The artwork is from Fort Ticonderoga. They actually picked it out themselves. Very, very proud of how much Fort Ticonderoga has helped me throughout the years. And everybody, yeah, Fort Loudon in Chambersburg, Pennsylvania, Fort Ligonier, Fort Niagara, Old Fort Bedford. You know, the list is endless. And most importantly, all the reenactors that let me do their pictures in this rule book. So, and a final shout out to Uncle Buck. Uncle Buck is a new friend who is helping me behind the scenes, and like no one else has really ever helped me. So thank you to Uncle Buck. That's it for now. Bloody Mohawk, the French Indian War game, Jumonville Glen, Scenario 1. Stay safe, be kind, be courteous, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Subscribe and let me know what you thought.